The Karate Kid is one of the most important movies made in the 80s. It changed the way we look at martial arts today and made karate popular in America. It might seem surprising today, but back in the 80s and 70s, martial arts wasn't anywhere near as popular as it is now. It wasn't mainstream, nor was there a lot of information about it. Fighting styles such as karate or kung fu were seen as exotic, and the mainstream view of the arts was violent or foreign because most depictions of martial arts were simply seen from the fighting aspect. Previously, Bruce Lee had some level of success when Enter the Dragon came out over a decade before Karate Kid. The movie sparked a whole genre and spread kung fu's popularity, but only on the big screen, and even then most movies featuring such fighting were usually B or C movies with very niche audiences. At that time, most people viewed any Asian fighting as kung fu, even if it wasn't, and there were a lot of myths being spread around it. Martial arts was seen as mysterious and dangerous, not something anyone could do or join. You had to be born for it or be a member of some kind of secret society.
For 2,000 years, the sacred art of the ninja has been guarded in the East.
Remember the day I found you.
Now, it has come to the West. The deadliest art of the Orient is now in the hands of an American ninja.
High above the streets of Los Angeles, he must fight the killer who was once a friend. Ancient Japanese warfare explodes in America. It's the ultimate martial arts adventure. No one can survive. The Revenge of the Ninja. Revenge of the Ninja.
Beyond the imported niches of Hong Kong Kung Fu and Japanese samurai movies, there just weren't that many other martial arts films available. Karate Kid changed all of that in a massive way and is the main reason for why karate gained mainstream popularity in America.
Columbia Pictures present The Karate Kid.
Hey, what kind of belt do you have?
Canvas. You like? GC Tennis 398.
In the 80s, martial arts was firmly in the action genre. The heroes you'd see were Stallone, Schwarzenegger, or Chuck Norris. Big muscular men full of testosterone who used their hands the same way they used their weapons, to kill as many enemies as they could. These movies were full of violence, blood, and gore. The characters were larger than life, and neither their bodies nor their skills were something the average Joe could ever dream of attaining or accomplishing. What makes this movie so interesting is how the hero of the story is just a regular teenager. He has no special powers, he's not some kind of former hardcore special forces warrior or badass. Even his body is skinny and clearly not that of someone who works out. Daniel is relatable even if you're not a teenager anymore because he's just a regular guy. There's nothing extraordinary about him and he also never acts that way, although he's also no pushover. He has a sense of honor and stands up for himself or his friends when he has to. The first time he gets into a fight with a bully, he's unable to defend himself and gets beaten up by Johnny. We feel for Daniel in that moment because most of us experienced bullying, be it physical or verbal. We know how humiliating and painful it can be, especially if you're the new kid just like Daniel. His suffering is not portrayed as weak, nor is it shown as a sign of cowardice. It's raw, real, and sad. In other movies, the hero would just shoot or stab his opponent, but here, you feel how powerless you can be in such a situation. The movie forces us to see him cry after getting beat up and his new friends abandoning him. The worst part about this is that it's not a made-up story you'll only see in the movies. This happens all the time, every day, and often leads to extreme depression and certain events in schools that shock the entire country. It is absolutely wild to me how there are people out there genuinely believing Daniel to be the bully, because apparently when he stepped in to help Allie while she was being verbally and physically abused by Johnny against her will, he started a fight and deserved to be beaten up. These people apparently can't separate the joke from reality. Johnny was always the bully in the original movie, just like his asshole sensei John Kreese. It seems like some people think that Allie belongs to Johnny like an object, despite her being his ex and them having already broken up at this point. It was Johnny who took her radio without permission and started harassing her, and it was him who destroyed her radio in a violent outburst. Like it or not, but he has all the qualities of a guy that would grow up to be a man beating his woman while getting drunk working a shitty job.
Not bad enough you took a shit in my powder room.
You said that's where I'm supposed to go?
Yeah, I didn't know you were gonna take a shit.
Okay. We'll figure this out, alright? Just quit bitching at me.
Daniel didn't need his permission to talk to Allie, nor did she, and even if they were still together, any decent person would step in when seeing that things might escalate. Johnny harassing and destroying her belongings is escalation in its purest form. Throughout the movie, Daniel gets bullied not just on screen, it's clearly stated that bad things keep happening off screen, and even Cobra Kai confirmed this, making it definitely canon. Johnny learns this behavior in the dojo because he hangs onto every word that his sensei says.
Mercy is for the weak. Here, on the street, in competition, a man confronts you, he is the enemy. An enemy deserves no mercy.
Their victims suffer in silence. They feel ashamed of telling what they are enduring. In the film, Daniel does this several times to both his mom, Allie, and even Mr. Miyagi. The movie depicts these scenes in uncomfortable ways and forces the viewers to endure the bullying just as much as Daniel. He's unable to stop it, and after being nearly killed by the Cobra Kai gang, experiences a mental breakdown.
It sucks for me. I hate this place. I hate it. I just want to go home. Why can't we just go back home? That's it. I don't understand the rules here. I want to go home. Up and let's see if we can figure out the rules together, okay? What about your bike? Safer taking a bus.
I don't think most people understand the significance of this scene and moment, because this is not only the beginning of change for Daniel and his journey to finally stand up to his bullies, but it's also a moment that changed how Americans, and in particular parents, view karate. If before it was seen as mystical and too violent, then now the perception started to change into something that was needed and could potentially stop bullying. School bullying wasn't widely talked about in the 80s, despite being a regular occurrence. A kid in school could get jumped by a pack of boys, beating within an inch of his life, while the teacher would look the other way or just throw up his hands and say that boys will be boys and this is how they work. And while this attitude has changed since then, these things still happen. The message Karate Kid sent was that there are always ways to stand up for yourself, fighting your bullies without turning into one yourself or engaging in violence for the sake of violence.
How's revenge?
Daniel-san, you look revenge that way. Start by digging to grave. Karate here. Karate here. Karate never here.
It struck multiple chords with mothers, seeing martial arts could not only teach their child some self-respect, but also might get them around the male figures they needed.
You're the best friend I ever had.
You pretty okay too.
The special thing about this movie is that it doesn't portray karate as something over the top or mysterious. You don't have to be a ninja to learn it, all it takes is a good teacher, dedication, and a bit of discipline. As Daniel learns to fight, he also learns to control his anger and emotions, something he had issues previously. The movie shows the good sides and bad sides of martial arts and how deeply fighting and philosophy can be connected. Brute force is one thing, but using your emotions the right way is a lesson Johnny should have learned long long before Cobra Kai. John Kreese is a perfect example of a bad teacher. His philosophy might not always be wrong, as striking first can be helpful or even necessary in certain situations, but his entire worldview is built on making enemies and basically creating bullies. The people who you struck first and showed no mercy to can also end up being the same that will want to seek revenge against you and might even pay you back in ways you probably won't like. The fighting in this movie is also never shown as overly violent, which actually feels surprisingly refreshing, especially for an 80s movie, as normally you'd see a lot more violence on screen. In fact, it feels like the movie is actually critiquing that behavior by using John Kreese and Johnny as examples of how practicing martial arts for the sake of violence can lead to a dark path.
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that? No, Sensei.
Even though Johnny and his gang are clearly shown to be the bullies, most of them are not mindless bots. Really, the only one who seems to be a criminal in the making is Dutch, who for some reason really wants to hurt and kill Daniel.
Hey, I'm talking. Come on, make a move! Hey! Come on. You know, points or no points, you're dead meat.
We can see more and more how shadows of doubt start to appear within the gang, first with Bobby trying to stop Johnny and Dutch from almost killing Daniel, and then we slowly see Johnny start to doubt himself. Despite being a bully, he's not shown to be completely heartless or even sadistic as some bullies can be. I think it's a real shame how Cobra Kai completely removed and changed the ending of Karate Kid when even Johnny accepts Daniel's victory and hands him the trophy. It was the perfect ending and might have even been the start of a new friendship, or Johnny simply trying to change, possibly with Bobby acting as the voice of reason. Of course, then we wouldn't have a pretty decent TV show that spans 6 seasons, and we'd miss Daniel, Chosen, and Johnny teaming up like absolute badasses.
No, ex-degenerate, man. 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'm a senior. I've got 1 year to make it all work. And that's what I'm gonna do.